G'day everybody and welcome to another week of Susie's Selections brought to you by Sinclair Wilson.
Are you getting everything you deserve? At Sinclair Wilson, we can answer all of your financial questions, optimize your tax position, and develop long-term strategies which will be very much to your advantage. Sinclair Wilson, for strength in numbers.
Tough week for us tippers out there last weekend with so many upset wins, but it's great to see the underdogs get up, of course. Will that continue this weekend or will things return to normal? Only time will tell, but let's see how we go trying to predict a few of the outcomes for this weekend's matches. It all starts tonight with Essendon versus North Melbourne at Etihad Stadium. Poor old Essendon, just when you think it's all over, Wada comes in and lodges its appeal. How are the Dons going to respond this weekend? In the past they've done really well when they've had those external influences coming in. You think just when they've been knocked down they'll bounce back up and do it again. This time around though, given they were already struggling the last few weeks, I think it might be a bit too much for them. So I'm tipping North Melbourne to get the win purely because they're the steadier of the two teams and they're a bit more consistent than Essendon at the moment. And on Saturday we have Adelaide versus St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. A fantastic win by the Saints last week, coming from behind over the Doggies. Really sterling stuff, and hopefully it'll give them a bit of momentum to carry into the next few weeks. But it's an even tougher prospect for them against the Crows at Adelaide Oval this weekend. So Crows for me, but hopefully we see another really good performance by the Saints. And then we have Hawthorn versus Melbourne at the MCG. Hawthorn's pattern of win-loss continues this year. They're yet to get consecutive wins, but I don't see them getting consecutive losses either. They'll be pretty furious that they lost to the Giants last week. Got shocked a bit there. So for me, Hawthorn should get the win quite comfortably over the Demons. And then we have Carlton versus Greater Western Sydney at Etihad Stadium. Carlton is in all sorts of trouble at the moment. They're not travelling too well at all. Greater Western Sydney, of course, had a fantastic win against the Hawks last week. I'm tipping them to get the win again here, but who knows which GWS is going to show up. The one that beat Hawthorn or the one that got smashed by West Coast Eagles? Hopefully the former. And then we have Sydney versus Geelong at ANZ Stadium. Of course, in the same match last year, Sydney absolutely smashed the Cats, but that was at the SCG. This is a different venue, and Sydney doesn't do as great at ANZ Stadium. I'm tipping the Cats to get the win, hoping they'll carry their momentum from the win over the Pies into this contest. And then we have West Coast Eagles versus Gold Coast Suns at Subiaco. The Eagles are absolutely flying at the moment and in second position on the ladder. At home, I'm tipping they're going to be far too good for the struggling Suns. And then on Sunday, we have Western Bulldogs versus Fremantle. The last quarter and a bit last week was a bit of a disaster for the Doggies, and they won't be too keen to repeat that. I'm tipping them to bounce back, redeem themselves a bit with a better four-quarter effort, but I don't think they're going to get the win. Fremantle for me to keep their unbeaten streak alive. And then we have Richmond versus Collingwood at the MCG. I'm not convinced about Richmond at all this year. They're not travelling too well. Collingwood will be disappointed with the way they started last week. They did redeem themselves a bit throughout the game, so I'm tipping them to bounce back and get the win in this one. And finally, we have Brisbane Lions versus Port Adelaide at the Gabba. Great to see the Lions finally get on the board last week with the win. Hopefully they've turned the corner now and will put in some better performances in the weeks and months to come. But for me, Port Adelaide is just far too classy an outfit, and I'm tipping them to bounce back, get the win. They won't be happy that they dropped one at home last week, so Port Adelaide for me. And then in the Hampton League, to start things off, we have Portland versus Terrain Mortlake at Hanlon Reserve. It's really hard to get a reading on Terrain Mortlake this season. They just scraped across the line last week with a 1-point win against the Bombers, but against the winless Tigers, I'm thinking they're a pretty good chance, so Terrain Mortlake for me in this one. And then we have Cobden versus North Warrnambool Eagles at Cobden Recreation Reserve. It was a really great effort by the Bombers last week. Hopefully we see more of the same this weekend from them. But North Warrnambool is travelling pretty well at the moment, so I'm going to tip them to get the win on the road in this one. And then we have South Warrnambool versus Koroit at Friendly Societies Park. Poor South is winless on the bottom of the ladder at the moment, and it's hard to see that changing against the reigning premiers. So the Saints for me in this one by a comfortable margin. And then we have Hamilton Kangaroos versus Warrnambool at Melville Oval. Hamilton is of course undefeated at home so far this season. They're 2 from 2, but it's hard to see that continuing against the Rampant Blues outfit, which a month into the season has a percentage of over 300. And finally we have Port Fairy versus Camperdown at Gardens Oval. Camperdown is of course the other undefeated team in the competition, and after a pretty good win against Hamilton Kangaroos last week, I'm tipping them to go 5-zip and get another win on the road. And that's it for another week of Susie's Selections, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. Feel free to leave your thoughts, tips and comments below. And everybody, have a great week. Happy tipping.